Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Icarus and today is usually Sin Day, but I started on a video about the Duggars and I got down a rabbit hole about Bill Gothard and I decided it needed a little bit more research and time to percolate before I was ready. So we're going with my backup idea and talking about parasocial relationships. What are they? Why has it come up so recently, like frequently in like recent years, that sort of thing, and my own experience with having one and the fallout around that. So we'll start with, what is a parasocial relationship? It is a one-sided relationship when one person expends a lot more emotional energy. They know about this other person, or they think they know about this other person. And I mean, this is a very historical thing. You can have parasocial relationships with YouTubers, other content creators, or influencers. You can have a parasocial relationship with celebrities, and going on and on and on. Further back, it can be, I would even argue that parasocial relationships can happen with fictional characters, where you put a lot of emotional energy and time into identifying with and understanding a particular character, and you end up in a completely one-sided relationship because this character literally can't do anything for you. And I am saying this is adjacent to Sunday because it's also kind of like with God and religions and Jesus and that sort of thing, because you're putting in this emotional, sometimes financial, oftentimes financial energy into this idea of a person, of a divine figure, and what are you getting back out of it? Pretty much the same thing that you get out of any other parasocial relationship. You may get a sense of belonging, be it from fandom, from church, etc. You could get a sense of peace, of knowledge. You could be getting entertainment, that sort of thing. But why has it come up more and more recently? Because, I mean, this word has existed for a while, but up until, I would say, 4 or 5 years ago, it wasn't really talked about in the way that it is today. And I would say that has to do with the advent of the internet. You have Instagram with their influencers and models and that sort of thing. You have YouTube with all the millions and millions of people that get big followings, because it's so easy to develop a relationship with a streamer or a content creator that creates videos, because oftentimes you're hearing their voice, you're seeing their face, they are sharing aspects of their life with you, and it's easy to compare the persona with the actual person behind the screen. So that's my argument. There is a blurring of reality, because for creators like this, especially when they start out small, there's not as much of a barrier of what we would see in like Hollywood celebrities. You get a lot of more personal interaction. They'll comment on your post, they will interact with you, so you feel like when you're talking with them on Twitter or you're talking with them on Patreon, you have a more intimate connection than you actually have. So that's why it's been talked about more recently, and it's why it's something that should be talked about. It's so much easier to look at what's happening and be concerned, because we may be substituting emotional connections or our social interactions with people online who ultimately don't really know about us. And I honestly thought I was better than that. I thought that because I entered the internet at a later age than a lot of people in my generation, that I was more immune to creating a relationship with someone online, parasocially or otherwise. And I was wrong. So let me explain to you about why this sits so heavily on my mind and how it's had effects on me afterwards. My parasocial relationship was with a man called Ryan James Haywood. If you are not familiar with that name, he was one of the old guard of Achievement Hunter, which is associated with Rooster Teeth. In the way old days, it was like some dudes playing Xbox games looking for achievements, doing guides, scoofing off, that sort of thing. I started watching Achievement Hunter after Ryan had joined the team. He was, I believe, one of the later additions to the main six at the time. And I started watching their Minecraft Let's Plays. This is actually how I started playing Minecraft. And there was something about Ryan's personality that really drew me to him. I think it had something to do with his persona, because he had kind of a split persona. There was the Mad King, where he would take great joy in destructive tendencies and killing his teammates, that sort of thing. But there was also the father figure, where he's in a relationship with a woman, he has children, his wife is a vet, and he talks about her, and when he answers the phone and is kept in, he sounds so loving and like he cares a lot about his family. And that persona continued over the years, where he started becoming his own Twitch streamer. There was a cartoon made where his persona, the Mad King, was one of the villains, and he started to become a person that I was heavily invested in without even realizing. He became someone that I was attracted to very much emotionally, which translated into a desire to be like him, both physically because of my gender dysphoria, and the idea of getting to be someone who is such a loving father figure, but also this sort of Mad King. I can't describe it any better way. I made an entire D&D campaign that I've never gotten to play based around this idea of his persona being the villain who could be redeemed if you went down the right path. I paid for Achievement Hunter's first stuff, which is a program they did so that you can watch more of their stuff, for Ryan. Lesser for some of the other people in it, but for Ryan mainly. And then last year, I believe, actually, it came out that Ryan has been sexually abusing several of his fans, entering sexual relationships, entering sexual talks, usually with people that are just on the cusp of being legal or actually legal, but usually these were young women who were vulnerable in mental health or some other way. And I have a very mixed feeling about this, because on the one hand, I do think that adults who enter relationships, illicitly or otherwise, with more famous people do have a responsibility to realize that they are going to be starstruck. But when someone is mentally ill, when someone is underage, it is impossible to always keep reality straight. And in addition to that, it's on the star to recognize the power that they have over people. And I think Ryan recognized the power he had over them, and he would use that. He would be on a Twitch stream and be sexting someone on his phone. And I never watched many of his streams, but I understand there were times when his children would come on. Not for very long, but this was in his house. And he would stay back from different trips like an extra day, and he would have relationships with these women. And people didn't believe it at first. These nudes that Ryan had got leaked on a sort of gay celebrity thirst trap forum, and it got spread on Kiwi Farms, which we know Kiwi Farms is not the most reputable of sources. But then women started coming out, and it wasn't just one, it was multiple. And the story was always the same. The ages might have been a little different, but they're always younger than him. They were younger than me. They were always in a mentally bad space, and they looked up to Ryan, and mostly as a sort of paternal figure, like I did. Luckily, Ryan resigned or got fired from Rooster Teeth. He deleted his social media. He didn't delete his Twitch. And a few months later, after all this came out, he made a post to his Twitch patrons saying that he was going to try and come back, that he'd been in therapy, had been talking to his wife. But luckily, there was such a backlash to that Twitch permanently banned him. And so Ryan has not been back online, has completely left the internet. And he has skills that he can fall back on. And hopefully he's gone and gotten the help he needs. And hopefully his wife and his children are okay. I really hope they're okay, because learning that your husband and your father has been doing this to your family, and his children are young, so they may not fully understand what's happening right now, but they're going to get older, and they're in the generation that grows up online, so they're going to be able to find all this shit. There's an entire subreddit dedicated to what Ryan's done. But it affected me really badly. I didn't realize how much it did until I got obsessive and I started researching every single story that came out, just like I was someone driving by the scene of a terrible accident, watching the cars catch on fire. And I was mentally in a really bad spot. Eventually, I had to shut it all out, and I had to. I, I tried to watch Achievement Hunter afterwards, after Ryan had left. I listened to some of what came out. I listened to Jeremy and Michael and Jax, how they talked about it, and I watched as Ryan's Twitter lost all of his connections to his friends, because they were just as horrified as everyone else in the community, because it wasn't something that was known, even an inkling. But it hit hard. And that's when I realized I had a parasocial relationship for the first time in my life, that I was just as vulnerable as anyone else of developing a social connection with someone, especially since I'd been watching them since 2013, and it was like 2020 when all of this came out. And it kind of ruined Achievement Hunter for me. So that's just what I wanted to share today, that it's easy to make fun of people who end up in parasocial relationships, and it's easy to make fun of people who lean on religion so hard, because it's another form of parasocial relationship in my mind, because you not only are you developing a relationship with a imaginary figment of a divine being, but there are people in the community. You can develop a relationship with your pastor that is never going to be totally equal. You can develop relationships with writers and speakers, and it's so easy to devote all of your energy and time into this. And so I try not to make fun of people anymore for having these relationships or thinking that people are such a big deal. Instead, I want to try and caution people not to develop these sort of feelings, to keep yourself in check. And I don't know. I think that's it from me today. It's still kind of hard for me to talk about, I guess, which is, I wasn't even one of the people affected, so all of these women that came out, they were very brave. And I'm glad that they were able to stand up to the harassment, because Achievement Hunter, despite everything that they've been doing in the past several years to change their demographic, it's still a boys club in many ways. So the fact that they were able to stand up and be like, no, I was hurt, this is real, fuck you, that's a big deal. But I hope y'all have a good day. Have a good Sunday or Monday or whatever time it is that you're doing this from. The last bit of news is we've had some good fortune in the house situation. My realtor went over to the house again today, not today, yesterday, and found that the gas was on and the septic line in the basement had been cleared. Turned on some of the sinks, heard water moving in the basement. So we are finishing our inspection on Tuesday, and hopefully we'll hear back from the radon and the termite and everything else by Thursday. So we're really looking forward to that. I'm going on my own on Tuesday because Briar's got to work and focus on that shit. You know, actually bring in the money while I'm trying to prepare to bring in the money. And yeah, with that, y'all have a good day. Stay safe. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.